Boxing Day night on BBC One.
And before all that, Glenn Close and Jeff Daniels star in BBC One's big Boxing Day film, 101 Dalmatians. That's in 15 minutes. First, the news on BBC One with Hugh Edwards.
Back in touch, but the Russian space station is still in trouble. Experts say the craft might yet spin out of control and fall to Earth. At least 300 dead in China as fire sweeps through a shopping centre. Minutes from time and United make sure they still dominate the Premiership. Good evening. Russian scientists have managed to re-establish contact with the space station Mir, but their problems are far from over. They'd lost radio contact with the unmanned craft for 24 hours, prompting fears that it might spin out of control and crash to Earth. Well, a short while ago, Mission Control admitted that contact had not been fully restored.
Uninhabited since the summer, Mir is already condemned to crash to a violent end on its 15th birthday in late February. The most serious communications failure so far calls into question Russian assurances that they can carefully guide the station to crash into the Pacific Ocean. We've re-established contact with Mir, says the head of the Russian Space Agency. Now we have to find out why we lost it in the first place. And no one's guaranteeing it won't happen again tomorrow. Experts say if the Russians lose touch completely with Mir, they won't know exactly where it is. Then, where this huge object crashes on Earth would be anyone's guess and out of anyone's control.
Unless they are able to maintain contact, sustained contact, it is impossible to bring it down in a controlled way. So it is a concerning situation.
Once regarded as the peak of space technology, Mir has also been dogged by a series of accidents. In April, this mission blasted off to repair an air leak, but Mir's also suffered an intense fire on board, a collision with a supply craft and computer shutdowns. Experts agree the station is ready for the scrap heap. George Eakin, BBC News.
At least 300 people died and dozens more were injured when fire swept through a commercial centre in central China. Most of the victims were young people who'd been at a disco. Survivors were taken to the local hospital in the city of Luoyang.
This was one of the deadliest fires in China in a decade. It started at about 9:30 in the evening and rapidly engulfed an entire department store. Although Christmas is not officially marked in China, about 200 people had crowded onto the fourth floor for a disco to celebrate the occasion. Many soon became trapped in the darkened dance hall and were overcome by suffocating smoke. According to one woman who survived the inferno, when the fire broke out, the whole dance floor was suddenly thrown into chaos. Local television broadcast harrowing images of the disaster as it unfolded in the central Chinese city of Luoyang. Some panic-stricken partygoers managed to clamber onto balconies, desperately hoping they'd be saved by the emergency services. Construction workers who were renovating two other floors are now being blamed for the fire. They were also among the more than 300 who died. A disaster compounded by poor access to the Dongdu department store. It's also been reported that the building had failed a safety inspection only a week earlier. Senior government officials who visited survivors in hospital also inspected the store in the aftermath. In the wake of other similar disasters, they may once again face serious questions about the enforcement of fire regulations in China. John McIntyre, BBC News.
Railtrack is to take on an extra 1,000 staff to help get the railways back into shape. The past few days have seen an unprecedented programme of track repairs. The Transport Minister, Lord MacDonald, was out today inspecting some of the results.
There was 1,000 restrictions and it's gone down to 500, so we're halfway there.
Lord MacDonald and Railtrack Chief Executive Steve Marshall met some of the 8,000 workers who've laboured on track repairs over Christmas. The Transport Minister was there to see what improvements had been made since the rail crash at Hatfield that precipitated this intensive repair programme. 25 miles of track and more than 50 sets of points are being fixed over the holiday with the aim of removing or easing another 100 speed restrictions. Now Railtrack says it wants to recruit an extra 1,000 staff, 300 engineers and 700 signallers.
This is really about for the next 5 or 10 years, and it's about the investment programme, and it's about getting all of the additional skills in to really bring the railway up to the 21st century.
But Lord MacDonald says even 1,000 new staff won't be enough.
It's got to go beyond that. There are skill shortages all over the network, and at least I've been telling the squads who have been working here today, thanking them for all their work over Christmas, but telling them they've got a very secure future because there's an awful lot of work to be done in this railway over the next 10 years.
85% of services will be back to normal by the end of January, Railtrack says, with the rest of the work complete by Easter. Linda Duffin, BBC News.
Supporters of hunting with dogs have braved the cold on what could be the last historic Boxing Day meet if the law changes next year. Over 300,000 people turned out. The Countryside Alliance says that proves how unpopular any ban would be, but protesters were also out in force.
This is a sport which continues to generate high emotion. The men and women of the Essex Farmers and Union gather for their traditional Boxing Day meet. A Commons vote next month could signal the beginning of the end of the sport they love, but they remain defiant.
We're here to do a job. They don't put us off at all. We saw them last year, we'll see them next year.
MPs could choose a third way, retaining hunting with dogs but only in controlled areas under strict licensing laws. That won't satisfy those who say it's cruel.
I have no problem with the pageantry, no problem with them having their meets and having their rides and everything else, but not at the expense of any animal being ripped to pieces for fun.
Those on both sides will be stepping up their campaign to win hearts and minds over the hunting debate. The divisions can only intensify over the coming days. Lisa Holland, BBC News, Essex.
Football and Manchester United are still 8 points clear at the top of the Premiership after beating Aston Villa 1-0 this afternoon. But without doubt the performance of the day was at Highbury, where second-place Arsenal beat Leicester City by 6-1.
Thierry Henry's gifts were all that Arsenal fans could have asked for at Highbury. He put the Gunners one up at half-time. 5 more goals followed in the second half, including Henry's hat-trick, and Arsenal's worst defeat of the season against Liverpool on Saturday was quickly followed by their best win. They gained no ground on the leaders though. Manchester United survived an early scare at Villa Park, with De Bilder's effort ruled out because of a foul. The same player was unlucky again to find Barthez in prime form in the United goal. Villa looked like keeping their unbeaten home record, but 5 minutes from the end, United came up with a champion's touch. A classy move and typically penetrating cross from Beckham, finished by Solskjaer. And a more prosperous new year beckons for West Ham. Trevor Sinclair scoring the most spectacular of their 5 goals against Charlton. Neil Bennett, BBC News.
That's it. I'll be back at 10:45. There are news updates throughout the evening on BBC News 24. Bye for now.
Good evening. It's been a cold Boxing Day this afternoon. The temperature in Aberdeen and Newcastle was just 1 degree. In London it was +3, and it felt even colder than that in the wind. And tonight it is going to be bitter, a harsh frost as temperatures in places drop as low as -5 or -6 degrees Celsius. And that means we are going to have problems with ice on untreated surfaces through tonight and tomorrow, particularly where we've had some showers through today, and there'll be further snow showers, particularly in northern and western Scotland. And most of the snow is in the north just at the moment, but through tonight and tomorrow we're expecting those snow showers to push further towards the south, across western areas, penetrating inland across parts of Northern Ireland, western Scotland, eventually northwest England, parts of Wales and perhaps even the North Midlands by the end of the day. But tonight most of those snow showers will be in northwestern areas. Down towards the southeast it's likely to stay quite cloudy with a little bit of light rain, sleet or snow. Elsewhere under clear skies we could have a problem with more freezing fog, particularly across Scotland and northern England, and that could be very slow to clear through tomorrow. Now, it's going to stay cloudy with a little bit more light rain, sleet and snow down towards the southeast. Lots of showers in more northwestern areas, sinking southwards through the day. But for some eastern parts, there'll be a good deal of dry and bright weather around. But it is going to be another bitter day, a top temperature of 1 or 2 degrees, perhaps no higher than freezing in places.
Gérard Depardieu stars in the first instalment of a week of action for the Count of Monte Cristo. That's tonight on BBC Two at the later time of 20 to 6.
We're starting up a bus company.
No, in my house, you know. One man against the system.
I'm willing to buy you out. You've just made a very serious mistake.
Colin Firth is Donovan Quick.
Must resist them. It only takes one person to inspire another and another and another.
Thursday at 9 on BBC One. Prepare for the aftershock.
Yesterday it was a mistake. Just thinking about it makes me feel sick.
You keep your filthy little lies to yourself.
EastEnders after Lorna Doone on BBC One.
Good evening, I'm Jo Healy. Hundreds turned out to today's traditional Boxing Day meet of Leicestershire's Corn Hunt, aware it could be the last. Protesters hope MPs will ban it next year, so hunting like today's could become a criminal offence.
This must not and will not happen.
A rallying cry to supporters to keep fighting for a tradition which has spanned 300 years.
In the new year, MPs will decide if they'll slap a ban on hunting with dogs, so this could, in effect, be the final Boxing Day meet.
There are bigger issues than fox hunting, and that's what the government should be dealing with.
I don't see what's wrong with it.
I hope it will continue.
Whilst not everybody agrees with hunting, there are an enormous number of people who do.
This will be the last day that we'll see the countryside defiled on Boxing Day by hunts up and down the country, chasing wild animals simply for entertainment.
They set off as determined to maintain their tradition as they were to catch their prey.
Plans to relocate Rally's bike factory in Nottingham are to be considered in the new year. Strong Christmas sales and a new rescue plan have strengthened the future of the firm. Here's our political editor, John Hess.
It's a logo that's established Rally as a world beater. From its 1950s Triumph Road factory, 500,000 bikes were sold last year. But growing losses forced the company to consider quitting Nottingham altogether, until the offer of shifting production to a new site at Bulwell, north of the city, much to the relief of local politicians.
We want it to grow, not just 600 jobs, we want it to get bigger. Every child wanted a Rally bike. When I was a youngster, I certainly did, living in Nottingham, and I want to make sure that all the kids in future put that demand to their parents so we get more than the 600 jobs that there are currently.
After months of production line uncertainty, tough competition and changing fashion, Rally's about to launch a new range of bikes. If its plans to relocate are approved by Nottingham councillors next month, Rally's workforce should face a more confident future. John Hess, East Midlands Today, Nottingham.
On to today's sport now, and in football there was a shock result for Leicester. They were beaten 6-1 away by Arsenal. Thierry Henry scoring his first hat-trick for the Gunners. In the other Premiership game, Manchester City 0, Derby 0, Nottingham Forest 1, Crewe Alexandra 0, Rotherham 0, Notts County 0, Luton Town 3, Peterborough 2, Lincoln City 1, Scunthorpe 1, Kidderminster 1, Mansfield Town 0. In rugby's Zurich Premiership, Bath 16, Leicester Tigers 17. That's it from us. Before we go, a look at the weather. Tonight will be dry and clear with a sharp frost, a low of -4. Tomorrow will be dry and cold and a top temperature of 2.